All right, so how many of you think that's the only two choices you have? I'm sorry. Mickey Mouse would be a dog. All right, how many of you think he would be a cat? I told you it was a hard question. The answer to that question is neither one of them are right. The question is wrong. That's a bad question. And my dad used to ask me that question when he thought I forgot. And I would see him ask other people from time to time, just out of meanness, just to see how they would respond. And I can remember the first time I got asked, that's a dumb question. He can't be either one of them. He's always going to be a mouse. And then you know something about people. Well, here's a question for you. I've set you up so you'll know the answer to this question, okay? We've got Facebook, LinkedIn, Google+, and Twitter. Those are the four choices: Google+, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Which of those, knowing what you know now from the first four talks, which of those is the king of social media? Which is the king? Facebook, Google+, Twitter, LinkedIn. Which one's the king? How many of y'all think Facebook? Well, YouTube is owned by Google, so that would fall under the Google+. How about LinkedIn? You guys are very brave to not answer the question. Twitter, do not answer the question. And then we got whatever the last one was, Google+. The answer to that question is none of them. There is another player in the field that will far, far outperform all four of those put together. And that's what I want to talk about today. Someone was saying, well, gosh, there's so much to do online, Bill. Where do I start? Should I start with Facebook? I've got a book. I want to sell my book. I've been waiting for you before I said that. And so I want to do business online. I've got Twitter, and then like LinkedIn. I don't know where to start. There's just way too much. Does anybody feel like social media is overwhelming? And we don't know where to start. Where do I start? Well, I'm going to answer that question for you today. I'll say, if you want to do this, do that. If you want to do this, start here. If you want to start here, start here. If you want to start here, go there. I will answer that question as crystal clear as I possibly can. But I will tell you there is another way that far outperforms all four of those put together. Well, that would be interesting to know, wouldn't it? So we've talked about change the world, link the world, message the world. I forget the other one. And then now we're going to have influence. This is the last one here is going to be influence the world. There was one other. I slipped my mind. Influence the world. I don't know why that. There we go. That was message the world, link the world, like the world, and then find and organize the world. Those are the four. Now we're going to talk about influence the world. Influence the world. There was the Speaker of the House was Lot, and Strom Thurmond. Y'all might know him better than I do. He's back when. Well, they were doing a roast of sorts because Thurmond was retiring, and at one point, just to be kind, in the 1948 presidential election, Lot makes the comment, they should have elected you president. And it just went on. All the major media outlets were there, and life went on, except for the fact that at this event, there were some other players who had their own personal websites. And they decided, well, the reason he said that about Strom Thurmond was because Strom Thurmond was for segregation and racial segregation. And so they picked up on that, and they made a big stink out of that, just for whatever reason. And next thing you know, they fired. Lot has to step down because he comes across as being pro-racial segregation, which was not the case at all. But there was a small segment, not on Facebook, not on LinkedIn, not on Twitter, not on Google+, who raised the point because they were able to dig it out and say, look, this is probably what he meant. Well, we've met this guy before, Evan Williams, he created this online platform. He created this software so that he could interact with other people in his office. So all he wanted to do was write, this is what I did today, and put it online. And then she wrote, this is what I did today, and she put it online, and they just kept reading it. It was like a log, like in the military. Just, I did this, on this time I did this, but they could do it online. Well, that was interesting, he thought. I could write this update about this and put it up online in a log form. It's reverse chronological form. Well, those people who knew how to create logs decided, well, this is what Lot meant when he said this Thurmond. And so they threw it up online, and all of a sudden there was a big stink. And he had to step down. Dan Rather, remember Dan Rather? And then what he said about George Bush? Well, these same kind of people, not the same people, but the same kind of people, they got into Bush's records and they made Dan Rather back off. Wow, what kind of people are these who have this kind of influence? Well, the word for, Bloggers. Okay, I'm trying to hide the word, but the word is bloggers. Blog. See, the problem with the word blog is it sounds like blah, blah, blah. And it's not anymore. It was at one time. There's a bunch of people who didn't have a love life. They didn't have a job. They didn't like whoever was in politics. And they just whined about it and ranted about it all the time. Nobody read them because nobody cared what they ranted about. But blah, blah, blah is not the standard anymore. I'll call it a dynamic website. Dynamic website with interactive capability. Everybody say, ooh. It's dynamic because it changes regularly. It's not a page you put up there and just kind of sits there. You keep adding to it. Every time you add something to it, it changes. It's dynamic. And people get on there and they interact with you. They leave comments. They ask you questions. You answer questions. It's social. Other people ask questions with each other on my website. They come to my website. I own it. And they get social and interact with each other and with me because I am dynamic. Not cool, dynamic. My content keeps changing. I keep adding to that. Well, the word for this is called disruption. Disruption. We love to mess things up in Silicon Valley. I don't know what you're used to, but sooner or later it's going to change. Because I am not a swearing person. I don't do that sort of thing. But if I did, I might start with this. There are people who sit around coffee shops. I hear them talk audibly because they're loud. There are people, a lot of people, sitting around Silicon Valley in coffee shops saying, what can we mess up that people are used to? They ask that question out loud and then brainstorm with each other in public. What can we disrupt next? Well, this particular group, they chose something to disrupt as well. I'll show you that here in a minute. It's a new kind of media. You remember when only certain people could make publications and then put it out there. Well, there was a media, there's CNN, there's Fox News, there's whatever else you might read, Wall Street Journal, New York Times. There is a defined group of people. They are the media. After they have siphoned everything and decided what is absolute truth, they share that with us so we can have confidence, right? Yeah, right. Good luck with that. Let me know how that works for you. So now there's a new kind of media. They say, we want to upset that apple cart. So we looked at instant messaging, instant media. That was Twitter, and we found the faults that happen with instant media. But here we have another kind. We have a new media. It's something that will endure. You put it up there, and it stays there for as long as you. Now, I want to keep coming back to you. This is for everybody sitting here in the chairs. This is not me. I do this. Now I'm talking to you. Whatever you write, whatever you decide to put online in this new medium, this king of social medium, it will endure for as long as you choose to have it endure. Nobody can take that away from you because it's yours. Does that make sense? I'm at the point where now, how can you influence the world? This is something you can own. It belongs to me. I own it. Of course, to own something, you have to buy it, right? All right, here it comes. It's going to cost me some money. In order to have this new media at your disposal, in order to be able to influence the world, and I mean influence the world, and the reason I say that is from my own experience, I have had more than 90 million people come to my websites. 90 million people come to my websites, and about 125, 130 million pages have been viewed. I can check my statistics. I have had people from every single country in the world. I've had people come from countries that aren't countries yet. And they were countries before, and they're not countries now, or they're not countries now, and they were whatever. You see, you can literally, with your own fingertips, touch the world. And I know that because I have done it. And I am old when I started to do it. And I can still do it. But it's mine. It belongs to me as long as I pay my bills. Well, the question is, how much does that cost? All right, how much does that cost? Well, it's a whopping $60 a year. A year. $60 a year. You can buy a domain. It's called a domain. The domain name is nothing more than I live at 111 West Arquez Avenue in Sunnyvale, California. 111 West Arquez is the address of my domain. That's where I live. You need a domain that tells people where your stuff lives online. And then you need hosting. Hosting is a whopping, go to GoDaddy. If you don't like, go to GoDaddy. Go to BM2 Hosting and buy it there. I own BM2 Hosting. If you buy it from me, I'll make 6 cents. And the reason I did that, I'm not trying to sell you anything, the reason I bought that hosting account is so my students would not get frozen as shopping. Everybody, we got a bunch of shoppers in here, don't we? And so they would get shopping, and then when you get shopping, you get indecisive. Well, I bought the rights from GoDaddy to resell stuff so that I could give it away, so that my students don't get frozen, so that my clients don't get stuck. Just start there. But the point is, don't get frozen buying hosting. If you spend more than $4 a month for hosting, you're being cheated. So 4 times 12 is 48, plus your domain name is $9.99 plus tax, or $57, and you got your space, you own it, and it will live as long as you pay that $60 a year. Wow. And it will endure. It belongs to you. And this is what's real cool. It'll go to work for you. Your website will work for you. Now, she wants to sell a book. Your website will sell books. My websites, while I am here on this cruise, eating too much and chilling too long and roasting, and while I was here, my websites, they're inanimate objects. I don't pay workman's comp or none of that nonsense. My website sent to me 5 very crystal solid leads. People said, "Can I do business with you, Bill, when you get back?" The websites go to work. Now, see what you do. This does the same thing for your book. I guarantee you, I can get. I don't care what your product is. I don't care what your product is. I don't know what your service is. I don't know what you're trying to sell. I can get people to take a look at it legitimately. You can do that. This will do that for you. Facebook cannot do that. Twitter cannot do that. LinkedIn cannot do that. Google Plus cannot do that. But we can do it with this self-publishing. You can do that. Does that sound like a king to you? The rest of them are just princes. They can't do squat when it comes to compare with the king. So doing this kind of self-publishing, what upset Dan rather, when you do that, I know from experience that I can get people to take a look at whatever you do, your paintings. I can't make them like it, but I can get them to take a look. It just plain works. And you cannot do it on the other social mediums. The social mediums won't allow that to happen. So social media versus the social networks. Facebook, LinkedIn, Google+, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, all of these are social networking. We used to call that hanging out. You're just doing it online. You're just hanging out. Who do I know? Who knows me? What's up? Hey, there's not business going on there. Now, if that's your purpose in life, is to make friends, to make connections, to make announcements, or just, you just tell the people, I like this. If that's what you want to do in life, get on Google Plus and tell people what you like. Get on Facebook and decide, I want to be your friend. Get on LinkedIn and say, let's connect. Get on Twitter and say, hey, I just had this for lunch. If that's what you want to do that. If you want to do business online, if you want to own your content, if you want people to come to you, I tell you, it is cheaper. I have proven this over and over and over and over again. It is cheaper. It is more cost effective. It's more time efficient for people to find you than it is for you to find them. Huh. Everybody say, huh. I'm serious. Does that sound appealing? It sounds appealing to me. I can sit in a coffee shop and go like this, and people will call me up because I know the king. By the way, the king. Who's the king? Oh, Jesus is the king, but not that one. Elvis, right? Elvis is the king. Well, Elvis' costume designer, Elvis Presley's costume designer's name was Bill Belew. Same spelling, Bill Belew, B-E-L-E-W. Yeah. Bill Belew died last year, and a whole bunch of people came to my website. Say, Bill, are you okay? If he died every year, I'd get more people looking at seeing if I'm all right. That's got nothing to do with anything, but I thought that was interesting. The blog is king. And there are reasons why the blog is king. One is I can know who my readers are. I know the demographics of who is showing up at my websites. If I have 90 million people and I know that the majority of them are from 18 to 25 years old, they're in graduate school or they're single, blah, blah, blah. If I know those specific demographics, well, that would be worth something, wouldn't it? Well, who knows that on Facebook? Well, Facebook knows that about who comes to your account, but you don't know. Twitter knows about that, who reads your Twitters, your tweets, but you don't know. On my blog, I know. I know who they are. I know the readers and their real communication. We were just talking about that. Talking to people with words that are longer than 3 characters. Right, I get to use more than 3 characters when I want to communicate. I'll come back, and I get found. People come looking for You. If you're good, is anybody good at what they do? Nobody? Just you guys? Well, you think your husband. If you're good at what you do, why shouldn't people find you? There is a somewhat moral obligation to let people know where you are. We call it, in my world, in the church world, we call it one beggar telling another beggar where to find food. I have found food. I have found food. Anybody hungry? Well, that's the wrong time to ask that question, isn't it? But I know where to find these things happen. And the last thing, it make a living. I don't make a living. I'll show you a picture here. And I'm going to talk here about 40 minutes, 45 minutes. And while I am talking, the websites will make enough money to take me and my wife and daughter to the movies. Out to eat afterwards as well. And it'll do that 24/7. You see, if you have something good, and you share that something good, you put that on your website that you own that endures for as long as you pay your bills, people will come find that. It just, how do they know that? Well, that's the magic of self-publishing. That's the magic of the search engines. You put something in a search engine, they look for something. Well, I know how to get found because I've done this so many times. It's called self-publishing. If you don't write nothing else down, write this one down. Write down WordPress. WordPress. I'll tell you what's really cool about WordPress. It's free. It's free. You can publish online for free. You don't have to pony up a whole lot of money. You don't have to suck up to anybody. You don't have to ask for anybody's permission. You don't have to have an editor. You don't have to have squat. All you have to do is pay that $60 a year. Get your domain name. This is where you can find me. And this is where my stuff hosting. I know if you don't understand the hosting concept, I don't want to get too detailed. Hosting, is simply whatever you write has to live somewhere. You say, what's on my desktop? Okay, what's on your desktop, but your desktop's not connected to the internet forever and ever. So you have to put all that stuff somewhere else. Someone else says, I'll keep it for you. I'll be your host. That's what the hosting, that's what you pay $4 a month for. But where is it? Well, that's why you need a domain name. So you put the domain name, they find your stuff, and there they go. WordPress is a free software. We call this open source. If you can imagine that I want to do this online, I'd like to try to do this online. Somebody's already done it for you on WordPress. And it's free. When you go to GoDaddy and you pay the $10, $9.99 for the whatever, and I don't get a cut of that because they don't share it. It's too cheap anyway. You go to GoDaddy or Bluehost or HostGator, it doesn't matter. Just so cheap hosting. Look for the words cheap hosting and pick somebody in your area. And then after they do that, say, I want to put WordPress in there. And they'll put on the phone, blah, blah, blah. And you just follow the directions, and there it is. If you can write email, does anybody here not know how to do email? If you raise your hand, you're hopeless. Just go ahead. I love you, but never mind. If you can write email, you can self-publish with WordPress. Because the subject line is called the title. And the body of the text is called the email body is called the body of whatever it is you're publishing. And instead of hitting send, there's a little blue button with white letters on it that says publish. Hit the publish. There it is. How hard can that be? Well, I want to put pictures on it. Well, you can do, there's all that kind of stuff you can do, but it's beyond the scope here. It's still available. WordPress. You get to know your readers. When people are finding you, you get to build loyalty. Because has anybody ever bookmarked their website before that you want to go back again? Well, you can do that to your space online. It's called RSS. I have people who subscribe. RSS means really simple syndication. People give me their email address. Here, Bill. Every time your website updates, every time you do something dynamic, every time you put something new, it'll show up in their email box. Well, that's cool. I don't even have to pay for that. I don't have to pay for email. I just write, and it shows up in their email box because it builds loyalty. You can do that with WordPress. I can reconnect. After they've given me the ability to connect with them, I can do it again because they gave me the ability to connect with them. How many times have you crossed paths with somebody who said, you're cool? I wonder who that was. She was cute or he was handsome. And it doesn't happen that way online. When you connect, you can reconnect. And you can meet physically. Okay, I just got this thing called Meetup. Well, okay, I'm going to be here in Silicon Valley. I've got about 4,473, 4,400, 4,500 people who now choose to meet me physically. And I run. No, I don't run. And we do that in Silicon Valley. So you see, I know those people because I have reached out and fist bumped them at one point or another. Really, in physical life. Now, you can't do that on Facebook. Well, you might have met somebody on Facebook, but you're not going to do any business with them. Or you might, I don't know. So, I can communicate. I can communicate more than 140 characters, not letters, not words, characters. The ideal length for a Twitter is 140 characters divided by 7.5. That's about 18 to 19 words. I can say something that's longer than 18 or 19 words long. Huh. Well, on Facebook, the ideal length for a Facebook, every time you update your Facebook, the ideal length is 60 characters divided by 7.5. That's about 6 words, 7 words, 8 words. If you use something more than 8 words long on Facebook, nobody's going to see it. Well, that sounds like where I want to hang out, doesn't it? Harley Davidson, you got hairy guys on motorcycles. You got Victoria's Secret, hairless girls with nothing on. Victoria's Secret on one side, Harley Davidson on the other side. They both came to the same conclusion that about half of 1% of everything done on Facebook is only seen by the person who did it. Now, what that means is, if I go to my Facebook page 200 times, I have to go there 200 times. And maybe somebody else will see what I did. Well, that sounds like where I want to spend time, right? And with 7 words. I had to put up 7 words 200 times, and I don't get buried. You know, the more friends you have on Facebook, the more followers you have on Twitter, the more connections you have on LinkedIn, the more circles you are in Google+, the more you have, the less people see you. Isn't there something wrong with that picture? You see, I have more friends and they have more friends, so the more I have, the less I get out of it. Someone should pin a big S on my head and call me stupid. No, you see, when I do it online, on my website, when people come, I can really communicate with them. Because there it is, and I can use as many words as I want, or as few words as I want, and I will not get buried. It will live there forever. I have things called archives. I have things called categories. I have a category for this. I have archives by month, and they push this button, push that button, and they can see what else I've got going on. I have a search bar for crying out loud. Search. It lives on my website. Drop something in there, and you can find where I have talked about that before. Try to do that on Facebook. You can't. Does it sound like the king to you? Because it is the king. Blogs are king. They can do magic. And I get feedback. Oh, more. I know what people are reading when they're on my website. I'm serious. I got Google Analytics, it's called. I write an article, a whole bunch of people come to my website. I can go to the analytics. I can see them. Whoa, they're reading this article. They're reading that. Oh, that's what they're reading. If I know what they're reading, what do you think I'm going to do? I'm going to write more. And I'm going to say, now go read this, now go read that. And I can push people around. Gently, of course, because that's what they're interested in. I know they're interested in because they came to see it. Huh. Sounds like the king. And feedback. How many of y'all like feedback? None of you, okay. Yeah. I'm setting you up. I would not answer any question I ask you if I were you. Most people say they like feedback. That's not true. What that really means is most people want other people to say nice things to them. Exactly. I know they just want, this is real feedback. I know whether I'm any good or not. I know if I'm good or bad because I can tell you how long people spend on my website. I can tell you how many pages they turn each time they come. If they come and read a page and leave, that page is no good. If they come and read a page and look at another, oh, there must be something there because they all know what else I have to say. There's real feedback. If I write something that takes 2 minutes to read and they stay there for about 36 seconds, what does that tell me? That's right. If I write something that takes 40 seconds to read and they're there for 4.5 minutes, what's that tell me? Well, what else does this guy know? You see, I get real feedback. I can actually communicate with my readers. There's Facebook. Yeah, see, there's Facebook. That's us. Say, woo, me. But when I'm on Facebook, 9 out of 10 people trying to do anything of value on Facebook, now I'm sorry about that. Don't look at this name, okay? What happens at the end, they have what's called a BIT, it's an itty bitty, BITLY. They have this short URL. 60 characters, 120 characters. Click the button. Where's that button going to take me? To his website. What's he doing on Facebook? Trying to get me to go somewhere else. When I get on to LinkedIn, don't look at the names. I should have blacked them out. Ben writes blah, 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 blah. There it is. Short URL. What's he doing on LinkedIn? He's trying to get somebody to go somewhere else. We call that click-through. We call that pushing people around. We call that making people do what they don't want to do. On my website, I get to ask people to do things because they came looking for it. And then when I get on Twitter, there it is again. Blah, 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 go here. Blah, 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 go here. Blah, 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 go there. Anybody who's trying to do anything on the other princes of social media are trying to send them to the king of social media. Trying to get them to go to the king of social media. I get found. I get found. You can see the clock, 20, this 24-hour clock here. This is the first time I had more than 10,000 people come in 1 hour. 1 hour, 10,000 people came to my website. Well, the yellow is actually how many people came. And the yellow plus red is how many pages they looked after they got there. But for our purposes, about 10,000 people came to my website in 1 hour. And then the next hour, 9,000, and so on and so on. There's some event going on. I wrote about it. They were interested in it. Here they come. And then when the event over, it kind of trickles off. We see how that can work. I have subsequently done 10,000 people in a minute. No, that's the name of my network. Site Meter, S-I-T-E-M-E-T-E-R, S-I-T-E-M-E-T-E-R. That's where I got this one. Now they have Google Analytics. Just use Google Analytics, that's fine. Well, that's beyond the scope here. It's over on the site, dashboard. Click on there and it'll pop up and it'll show you that. 100,000 people in a day. 100,000 people in 1 day. We have since done, my network has since done 100,000 people in an hour. Everybody say, ooh, you guys are a tough crowd, I tell you. That's hard to do. 100,000 people in an hour. We had 597,000 people in 1 day. 24,000 people an hour around the clock. That's hard. I want you guys to say, woo, go Bill, go Bill. The point here is if you write good stuff, people will find it. Now, what I'm writing about in this case here, I have a huge following in India. In India, and I'm writing about cricket. Like that. There's a long story behind it. I got locked in a hotel room during the Festival of Holi. H-O-L-I, Festival of Holi in March 1 year, like 20 years ago. And my Indian friends said, dude, you cannot go outside. You're a white guy, they will paint you to death. It's a festival where they paint people. So I sat in a room all day. They would not let me go out of the room. The bathroom was in there. They would not, but there was nothing to do except watch cricket. I don't know nothing about cricket. By the end of the day, I did. And I started writing about it. Now it pays the bills. All right, so but there are different topics that have different levels of interest. Now, I don't know what it is you write about. It might be about health and relationships. You don't need 100,000 people. You need 1,000 people who care about that. That's the difference. Right? You don't need 100,000 people interested in art. You need 200 people interested in his kind of art. You see, if you can do 100,000 people, you can do 200 people. But people who do 200 people don't know how to do 200,000 people. It's easy to scale down. I know how to do that. I'm just trying to tell you who the king is. This is where they're coming from. 77% of the people who come to read those charts, to see those numbers, came looking for me or something on my website. This is somebody said, hey, you better go over and see that. That's what a referring site. Direct people, this is people who've already bookmarked the site. They open up their laptops and say, I'm going to go watch the cricket scores or whatever it happens to be. So you got searching for you, somebody saying, hey, go over there, and you got the direct. Try and do that on Facebook. Try. Prove me wrong. Do that on Facebook. And here's some good facts. 34,000 searches. 34,000 times each second somebody put something in a search engine box. Wow, that's a big number. 2 million a minute, 121 million an hour, and about 3 billion times a day. 3 billion times a day, somebody is searching for something. Why shouldn't they find you? Why shouldn't they find you? If you're good at what you do, why shouldn't people know about that? 1 hour talk. I mentioned this earlier. Take my wife and daughter to the movies, and we go out to eat afterwards. This guy's a plumber. Okay, he calls himself Solera Home Improvement. Home Improvement, all right? That's a euphemism for he fixes toilets. Seriously, I'm serious. I know the guy's Kevin. He fixes toilets. So he doesn't have, nobody's calling him up. There's 2 reasons why people fight. I kind of get excited. I want to go over here and say something, but I forgot what I was saying when I was over here. And so there are 2 reasons why people fight. They don't have any money, or they have too much money, right? And so they didn't have any money. And so he got online. He said, I'm going to do what Bill says. And he creates a blog, and all he does is write about toilets. Toilets. I'm serious, toilets. And plungers, and washers, and things I don't care about. But he cared about them, so he starts writing about them. Next thing you know, people start showing up. Here, he's getting a phone call, he gets a phone call, he said once a month, somebody will call and ask for an estimate. Just an estimate. They ain't doing no business. Just once a month. Hey, how much did it cost to fix my toilet? Here, he gets a phone call every day. Then he gets so busy, he doesn't have time to do anything. He didn't have any time to keep writing, so he stops. But he stops. Now look at this. He stops writing. He stops the dynamics of his website. But what? It endures. It endures. He owns it. It belongs to him. So it keeps coming. For an entire year, he never changed a single page on his website, and people still come. Well, that's cool. Try and do that on Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter or anything else. You see, this is the king here. If you want to do something online, if you want to dream dreams, change the world, influence the world, this is where you start. Everything else is everything else. Everything else is everything else. This is where we start. This is one of my students. Story's too long to tell. Taught a class at a university last year, MBA class. Went up, knocked on the door, knock, 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 knock. I said, can I teach a class here? I will do it for free. They thought I was nuts. I said, I'll do it for free. I just want to prove to you, I said this, I just want to prove to you that the blogs are king. And Leslie, what? Are you nuts? I said, I'll do it for free. Just give me 70 or 40 students or whatever, and I'll prove to you that it works. I'll prove to you as a marketing tool, whatever it is that you have, this is the king of marketing. Because 100% of marketing, 99.9% of marketing is called push marketing. You're trying to push something on people that don't want. This is called pull marketing. I create something of value and it attracts people. I said, I will prove to you. I told her to school, I said, let me prove to you that it works. And they gave me a class. They paid me anyway, but they gave me a class. And the class went for about 4 months. This is where it started. So we're like February. See this flat line? It's flat because it did not exist. Starting from 0, flat line, zilch, zip, nada, blah. And then she went to work. You know, every now and then people say, oh, look at that. And then they disappear. You know why? That's a long story. But it just keeps on going. We get down here to the end of April. My class went from February to April. Chaya, her name is Chaya Kanal. She's a little tiny little girl from Nepal. She was thinking now, mind you, not talking, she's thinking so loud I could hear her. She's thinking, my professor is an idiot. Because look at all that work I did, and nothing happened. And then all of a sudden, something happens. There's a technical term for this, what goes on here. This is a technical term, it's called the sandbox. It's called the sandbox. Most websites are abandoned within 3 months. So why would a search engine give it any priority? Once it's been updated, once it's been loved on for quite a time, it'll eventually not climb out, but jump out of that sandbox. Here's another example. Same thing. This girl, Jeannie, at the beginning of the class, she's going to fool everybody. She's going to tell all of her friends on Facebook, come see my stuff. Start pushing people around. All right, so she's pushing people around. Look what happened when she pushed them around. Then the next week she pushed them again. Then the next week she pushed them again. Then the next week she pushes them again. Look what happens when you push people around. It drops down because people don't like being pushed around. Then she gave it one more try, and then she just gave up and let it grow by itself. You see, if you create good stuff, people will come. You put up solid material, people will come. I know it because that's what the search engines do. That's what the search engines do. I interact with friends and family. My purpose in life is to interact with friends and family. That's all you want to do. Go to Facebook. Leave the rest of them alone. I'm trying to solve a problem here for you. What have I been doing on this ship all week? Well, I solved my social media problem. Serious. If you interact with friends and family, go to Facebook and leave the rest of them alone. You're wasting your time. If you have followers, people love you, I love you. What are you doing now? What are you going to do next? Where are you going to do it at? How was it when you did it? If you have people who follow you and they're just interested in everything you do from every moment that you do it, go to Twitter. And if you're not interested in telling people every detail of your life, don't go to Twitter because you're wasting your time. Don't go there. Don't do it. Friends and family on Facebook. People who love you and follow you to the ends of the earth, they'll do it on Twitter. If you're trying to build businesses, trying to make Mojo, Moxie, trying to grow things, I'm trying to reach people over there and do whatever, do it on LinkedIn. If you're not doing business, anybody looking for a job here? Somebody, if you're not looking for a job, don't go to LinkedIn. You're wasting your time. Don't go there. Okay, we can qualify that. If you're not looking for a job, but if you're trying to do business, then go on LinkedIn. If you're not trying to do business, stay away because it's not going to help you. She's hiring people, maybe. You might be able to fire. Recruiters go on LinkedIn. They're looking for people looking for jobs. So you see the connection there. So job hunters, job wanters, that kind of thing. If you want to interact with the web, I just like hanging out and telling Google what I think about the world. Yeah, I'm serious. I mean, we talked about how Google Plus is allowing us to make subjective determinations for an inanimate object. If you want to do that, if you want to interact with the web, go to Google Plus. If you want to do all of these, if you want to do all of them, get your WordPress going. Get your blog going. Domain name, hosting, $60 a year, anywhere you want to get it. All right. Put in WordPress, it's free. My students, you can do lots of stuff. Now, I know you're going to want your website to look pretty. Everyone wants your website to look pretty. So what's the prettiest? What's the best way to dress up a website? The answer to that question is, who cares? Nobody's coming anyway. When people start coming, then you can make changes. My students were getting 3,000, 4,000 people a month, 5,000 people a month on the white default template. They paid zero for that. If someone says you need to pay $1,500 for your web, blah, 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 run. Either that or give it to me and I'll do it for $500. And and I'll keep the 1,000. I'm serious. A video. The Google, that Google, the big G Google, they send a producer and a videographer. They sent a producer and a videographer to make this video about ripple makers, people who cause the ripple effect. They sent these two characters from right down the street to make a video. I'm trying to talk real slow and time it right, but it's not working, of this guy.
Today we got about 65,000 visitors. So somewhere between 50 and 70,000 people a day. One day we got 110,000 people. That was like way cool. There's another time we got 10,000 people in 1 hour. I started blogging in March of '06. So I was teaching at a university here and didn't want to have to depend on somebody else. I wanted a job that I could have control over by myself. We have about 15 blogs, but there's just a few of those that are the main traffic drivers. Blogging is our primary source of income. And it's for me, my wife, and my little girl. I write for about a penny a page. And if you can make a penny a page, you're doing good. You live in the valley here. You got a house, and you're trying to pay that mortgage at a penny a page. There's a desperation feeling all the time. Every time you hit the keys, you feel like, is this going to work? Is this going to work? Is this going to work? So, living with that feeling that if I don't do this, how am I going to pay my mortgage? But what other choices do I have? Just living with that day in and day out has always been the hardest part. It's a weakness of mine, I think, that I do not know when to stop. There are times when I should stop, because it doesn't make sense to keep going. But I don't know when that is. So I've had this mentality from the time I was little, whether my dad gave it to me or I learned it out of the Bible or what. If I'm going to start something, if something's worth starting, it's worth finishing. And so I made up my mind, I'm going to write until I can provide for my family. And I just wrote until I did that. It never dawned on me that it wouldn't work. What they're looking for is the character combinations that are being used. They see this word business a lot. I have about 3,700 members in my meetup groups. And some of them are business related, entrepreneur related. There's one common thread that holds all of these meetups together, and it's how to get traffic to your website. So whether it's a blog or whether you've written a book and you want to call attention to it, whether you've got a company and you want someone to see this company, everybody wants traffic to the website. That's what I know how to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely.
It's fun for me to see people do more than they think they can do. That's what I consider not necessarily a success. I just think that's fun.
How do you get more traffic? You write a lot and you do it all.
I have a friend, Dave, and he's so cool. He's about my age, a little bit younger, lost his job. As much as we say that ageism is not alive and well in business, it is. He's not going to get another job here in Nevada because there's people half his age who could do his job for half as what he would require. So he started blogging. He set a record today. It's his first time to get more than 1,000 unique visitors, first time to get more than 1,000 page views in one day. And the guy's just thrilled. This is what's cool. When you see somebody take something that they love, something that they think, well, if I do this and I do this well enough, I'll be able to provide for my family. When you see somebody do that, that's what's fun. One of the lessons I try to teach in the blogging classes, everybody says if you have passion, you can go a long way. Passion. If you have passion, you just can't help it, right? Well, I've learned something that trumps passion. And something that's bigger and better than passion is hunger. You gotta eat. I'm wired differently. Success is not something I strive for. Just being faithful to what's important to me, being faithful to people, being faithful to loving, being faithful to giving, those things are important to me.
Cute, right? The little girl too, right? Not just me. No. Nah, let's see, where am I? I got a whole bunch of stories I wanted to tell, but I'm going to run out of time before I do this. I'll just tell you one short story. It's going to be long if I tell it. So, my two boys grew up in Japan, and their mother is Japanese. Not the same woman. I'm sorry about that. But they went to school, and in Japan there's this mentality that anybody who's not 100% Japanese is half of what Japanese are, and they call them halves. The Japanese call half. They call it. I think it's the same in China. My wife was telling me they call them halves. Well, my two kids went to school one day, and they came home together, and they come up to me and said, "Papa, how come they're calling us half? Why am I half of all the people around me?" And I was ready for that. I was ready. So I said, Benjamin and Micah are their name. Benjamin says, when you're in Japan, do you eat Japanese food, watch Japanese television, talk to your Japanese grandparents? Well, yeah. And your friends, do they do all those things? Eat Japanese food, read Japanese manga, anime, and talk and play in Japanese? Well, yeah. And I said, well, Benjamin, when you guys go to America, can you eat American food and watch American television and talk to your American friends and your American grandparents? Yeah, we can do that. I said, well, when your Japanese friends go to America, can they talk to grandmas and grandpas and watch televisions? And they both laughed out loud. No, there's no way they could do that because they don't understand anything in America. And I asked them, who is half of whom? And so I got the opportunity. There was a national publication in Japan, I'm going to write about this in Japan. And I wrote about that story, about that incident. About 2 weeks later, on national television, these kids show up whose parents are from different cultures, shouting out on television, "Do never call us half again, call us doubles." I told them, I'm sorry, you guys are doubles. And they just walked out, we're doubles. And so it showed up on national television. It started showing up on national newspapers. Now those kind of kids who can function in two different cultures are called doubles. And that word had never existed until my kids encountered it, and I explained it to it, and I wrote about it. Now I understand they use the word, that kind of concept in China as well. I did it. I did it with my fingers. All I use was my fingertips. Now, it's not because I'm cool. What I want to say is, you're cool. There is a depth. There is an exceedingly great depth of wisdom and experience and knowledge that exists in this room alone, much less on this entire ship. I've seen the art. Why? Why would you not tell people that? You see where I'm going? If you have something to give, why wouldn't you give that away? You have at your fingertips the ability to change the world. You don't just touch the world, you can influence the world, you can change the world. I am but a pencil in the hand of a writing God who is sending a love letter to the world. A pencil in the hand of a writing God sending a love letter to the world. Who said it? Mother Teresa. You think for a moment when she dug in deep in Calcutta, she thought she might change the world? But she did, didn't she? So I want to encourage you guys. I know you learned something about social media you didn't know before. But did you learn something about yourself that you didn't know before? If you think that you could just touch the world or just influence the world, you have way underestimated yourselves. Because with the king of social media, you can change the world. I want to applaud you all. You guys have shared part of your vacation with me. I take that responsibility very serious. So I've given my heart back to you. Now, my challenge, my encouragement is for you to go change the world. Thanks for being here.